does designing a powerful project-based learning experience have in common with creating a classic music album? More than you think. As an educator, designing authentic, meaningful, and engaging learning experiences is kind of like, in some ways, how an artist creates a classic album. Just as an artist carefully creates, selects, and curates songs that fit together, a teacher must carefully design learning activities that fit together within a unit to create a learning narrative that is meaningful and authentic through the use of project-based learning, or PBL, a teaching method in which students learn by actively engaging in real-world and personally meaningful projects. This idea of high-quality units having similar characteristics as high-quality albums came to me when hanging out with my friend Ben Summerton. We listened to Ben's record collection, while he tells us about the artists we are listening to, the behind-the-scenes stories of how bands were formed, and how the music and albums were created. As I was listening to Ben's stories, I started to see similarities between both the artistic process of the development of these beautiful albums and the process I go through when designing learning experiences for students through project-based learning. Both units of studies and albums include an overarching theme that guides the creative process, intentional structure that creates a cohesive and compelling storytelling experience, and the interconnected elements that contribute to the final outcome. An artist often begins the process of creating an album by selecting a theme that ties the songs together. Let's take a look at one of my favorite albums, Good Kid, m.A.A.d by Kendrick Lamar. It's a coming-of-age story around pain, suffering, and growth. Kendrick's storytelling of his journey from youth to adulthood is the context, or the theme of the album. This theme helps the artist create a foundation to create a story. Similarly, in project-based learning, units have themes that anchor and align with content standards and bring all the learning together. The theme can include both the big ideas we want students to explore and engage in meaningful, authentic contexts with real-world problems. Themes in project-based learning facilitate interdisciplinary learning by allowing students to explore subjects holistically rather than in isolation. Themes are contextual and shape the narrative framework of the learning experience, make abstract concepts tangible and relatable, and making learning authentic and engaging. The theme in a project-based learning unit helps create a foundation for a learning narrative, in which we will discuss more later in the video. Let's take a look at a unit I worked on as an example. Here are the standards of the unit. Construct maps and other graphic representations of both familiar and unfamiliar places. Explain how culture influences the way people modify and adapt to their environments. Explain how cultural and environmental characteristics affect the distribution and movement of people, goods, and ideas. The overarching theme I came up with in regards to these standards was the following: understanding global interconnections through mapping and cultural perspectives. This theme was the basis of the project-based learning unit I developed. Kendrick Lamar's album, Good Kid, m.A.A.d also contains a storytelling arc based on the coming-of-age theme, set against the backdrop of Compton, California. The album starts with the exposition, where Kendrick introduces his younger self, reflecting on innocence and aspirations while navigating the harsh realities of his environment. As the story progresses, the complication or rising action unfolds as Kendrick is pulled into the pressures of gang culture, peer influence, and violence. Depicted in songs like The Art of Peer Pressure,
I'm with the homies right now. Your mama used to say, one day it's gonna burn you out.
and Backstreet Freestyle.
Goddamn, I feel amazing. Damn, I'm in the matrix. My mind is living on cloud nine, and this nine is never on vacation. Start up that Maserati and vroom vroom, I'm racing.
The climax occurs when Kendrick faces a life-altering event that forces him to confront the consequences of his actions, as heard in m.A.A.d.
Not the drill sergeant, but the stress that weighing on your brain. It was me, El Boogie, Yang, and YG Lucky. Ride down Rosecrans, it got ugly. Waving your hand out the window, check yourself.
In the following action, he contemplates the impact of his choices and the cycle of violence that plagues his community, particularly in songs like Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst.
I woke up this morning and figured I'd call you in case I'm not here tomorrow. I'm hoping that I can borrow a peace of mind. I'm behind on what's really important. My mind is really distorted. I find nothing but trouble in my life. I'm fortunate.
The album concludes with a resolution from the song Compton, where Kendrick embraces his identity, learns from his past, and envisions a more hopeful future.
Now everybody serenade the new faith of Kendrick Lamar. This is King Kendrick Lamar. King Kendrick and I meant it, my point intended is raw. Fix your lenses, forensics would've told you Kendrick had killed it, pretend it's a massacre.
The entire album serves as a cautionary tale of survival, growth, and self-realization, illustrating how Kendrick evolves from a naive teenager to a mature artist who finds strength in his roots. Just as a classic album like this thoughtfully sequences songs to build a cohesive story, a well-designed PBL unit carefully organizes learning activities to create a meaningful narrative, guiding students step by step toward addressing a real-world challenge. In an Edutopia article called "What the Heck is Project-Based Learning?", the author states that PBL creates a cohesive and engaging learning story rather than a series of disconnected lessons. The author also acknowledges that traditional lessons might be based on a topic or a theme, but mentions that these lessons often work independently and can function without being embraced in a unit that connects them all in a learning story. This implies that merely having a theme is not enough to create cohesion if the lessons are isolated and lack a narrative connection. PBL creates this narrative connection by immersing students in a meaningful context or problem that drives the learning process. Therefore, it is crucial to create a storytelling structure within the unit of study that includes a climax, where there is a problem or a challenge, and then ultimately a solution, the resolution of the story. In a separate video, I talked about learning narratives, a framework that represents the student learning experience within a project or unit as a cohesive, compelling story. It mirrors Freytag's pyramid storytelling arc, but uses the following terms instead to better fit our project-based learning context: entry event for exposition, investigation for rising action, problem or challenge for climax, creation and test for falling action, creation, and final product, the resolution. Learning narratives position students as the heroes of the learning experience, navigating challenges, making decisions, and reflecting on their journey, while teachers act as mentors guiding them through the process. The central problem or challenge in project-based learning acts as the conflict in the story, which gives the learning experience purpose, direction, and tension, and ultimately leading to a resolution. Let's take a look at the example unit I introduced earlier. Using the project-based learning approach, I created a learning narrative for my students, which includes a challenge framed by this driving question: how might we as video journalists tell stories that impact communities around the world? Here, students take on the role of video journalists, inspired by Johnny Harris, a well-known video journalist and storyteller who uses maps and visual storytelling to explain global events. The project's core idea is to have students analyze real-world case studies and communicate their findings through a video presentation that creatively uses maps and their research to tell a compelling story. So here's the PBL unit as a learning narrative. The project begins with an entry event where students watch a Johnny Harris video to spark curiosity, followed by the investigation phase where they research a global event or issue, gathering data and exploring maps. Their story reaches a climax, the turning point, where students, now armed with everything that they learned so far, choose a global event that they are inspired to bring to light, ready to share the story with the world. In the creation phase, students start to create their video, combining maps, visuals, and storytelling techniques while refining their work through feedback. The story arc concludes with the final product, where students present their work to an audience, reflecting on their process and learning, mirroring the journey from curiosity to communication. As you can see in this learning narrative, in a PBL unit, every learning activity is thoughtfully sequenced, building knowledge and skills step by step to address the real-world challenge. Nothing is random or disconnected. Everything revolves around the authentic context and the purpose of the project. The flow of the activities must make sense to students. Each experience builds on the last, leading them to the final performance task. I really enjoyed making this video. What I realized along the way was that there are similarities between the criteria for a high-quality album and the criteria for a high-quality PBL unit of study. Whether we're talking about albums or units, three things are essential. A strong theme or context drives the entire creative and learning process. In an album, the theme unites the songs and shapes their creation, like the coming-of-age theme in Good Kid, M.A.A.d City. Each song contributes to the overarching story, making the album cohesive. In a PBL unit, the theme, real-world context, and the authentic problem anchors the learning and makes it more meaningful, like we saw with the video journalist project. Every activity connects back to the central theme, context, and problem, ensuring relevance. Interconnected, essential elements. Each element contributes meaningfully to the whole, with less fillers or disconnected parts. In an album, every song has a purpose and builds the narrative, like how each track in Kendrick's album deepens the story. Songs work together to paint a larger picture, enhancing the album's message. In a PBL unit, every learning activity builds skills or knowledge needed to address the final challenge. Activities are intentionally linked, fostering deeper understanding and coherence. A well-sequenced structure guides the audience or learners through a meaningful journey. In an album, songs are ordered to create an emotional arc, building tension and resolving it. The sequence enhances the storytelling experience, making it more impactful. In a PBL unit, the progression from curiosity to solution mirrors that story arc. Each phase builds on the previous one, leading to a final product that reflects learning. Designing a project-based learning is a deeply creative act, just like creating an album. By starting with a theme, creating an authentic challenge, and designing and sequencing learning activities effectively, a teacher can create a cohesive and engaging learning experience for students, like how an audience listens to a classic album. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to dive deeper into innovative teaching and learning practices, make sure to check out my other videos. And until next time, stay perpetually in beta, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.